Hello and welcome to this video. Here you will learn a little bit about how I use screencasting to maximize and enhance the instructional time in my face-to-face classroom. I taught primarily high school English for 12 years, and I used screencasting for many years to try to help students in my classroom with a variety of different skills. But I also use screencasting to help the flow of my instruction a lot and also to just maximize the class time I had, even multiply myself in the classroom whenever I was working on a unit or even specific skills that students had a lot of questions about, and it would be hard for me to get around during our class period and talk to every student and answer every question. So that's whenever I started using screencasting to help me. It's interesting and it's great that after the era of COVID, probably as a classroom teacher, you might have started using screencasting for the first time. If you didn't use screencasting in the COVID era, hopefully this little training helped you learn a little bit about how to do it. And then now we can think about beyond the virtual classroom, how can we use the screencasts that we've already created or maybe new ones that we can create to use it efficiently in the face-to-face classroom. Like I said, I'd been doing this for a long time, even before COVID. It was just a good way for me to make the flow of my classroom work a little better. So first, I'm going to talk to you about one way that I use screencasting in my face-to-face classroom, and that was through helping students with instructions in stations. One particular example that comes to the top of my head immediately is after we had read the novel To Kill a Mockingbird, and we were preparing for a cumulative assessment on that book and that unit. I had different review stations that I had students split up in, and those stations asked students to do a variety of things, and they were engaging activities in each station. One station, students had to categorize information that I gave them. And another one, they were reviewing what it takes to truly analyze an important quote from the text. In another station, they were creating tweets for characters and having what might be a real life conversation between characters. So there were a variety of different things that students were doing in the stations. And instead of taking 20 minutes at the beginning of class to explain all the stations while they just sat there, and then when they actually got in the stations, like maybe they would have an instruction sheet, but they weren't listening to me while I was talking, and they won't read the instruction sheet, and they'd be like, oh, what do I do when I'm here? So I created just a very brief, like 3 to 4 minute instructional video with a screencast that gave instructions for what students had to do in the stations, and they even walked them through an example. So when they got to the station, they could play the video, they could listen to it. All the students can listen in the different stations at one time, and it saved a lot of time. And if they forgot what to do, they could just replay the video to get those instructions. So it was nice. Plus, it was also nice because if students were absent that day during that particular lesson or that rotation of stations, then all I had to do was go into my Google Classroom and say, here are all the videos for directions about the stations today. So you can use these to help you complete your work. And it worked out really well. So think about, as you go through this, and hopefully you are thinking as I'm talking about what that might look like in your classroom and how you can use stations and how you can use screencasting to help you manage those stations and manage the instructions in those stations.